Hi Mason, this is your Pappy, and we're going to read Peter Rabbit. This is the story of Peter Rabbit. He was a naughty little rabbit, so let's see what he says. Once there were 4 little rabbits. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the roots of a very big fir tree. Okay, big old tree right there. "Now, my dears," said Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go down the lane or into the fields, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put into a pie by Mrs. Gregor. Run along and don't get into mischief. I'm going to go out." Then Mrs. Rabbit went through the woods to the baker's to buy a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail were good little rabbits. They went hopping down the lane together, blackberries. Peter, however, who was sometimes a naughty little bunny, hopped straight into Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed his fat little self under the gate. Just what his mama told him not to do. He ate some lettuce and beans and radishes. Then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But whom should he see but Mr. McGregor? Look, he's got a rake and he's angry. Mr. McGregor jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling, "Stop, thief!" Dreadfully afraid, Peter rushed all over the big garden searching for the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and then the other shoe among the potatoes. He might have gotten away if he had not gotten caught the buttons of his jacket in a gooseberry net. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. "Poor Peter," chirped some little sparrows. "Hurry, Mr. McGregor is coming." Peter struggled fiercely. At last, just as Mr. McGregor was about to pop a sieve under his head, Peter wriggled out of his jacket and dashed away. He rushed into the tool shed and hid in a can. It would have been a nice place to hide if there had not been so much water in it. Presently, Peter sneezed. Kerchoo! And Mr. Gregor was after him again in no time. So he's looking for him under pots. Up and down, all around the garden they ran. At last, Mr. McGregor gave up and went back to his work. So he's wiping the sweat off of his face. Peter saw a door in a wall, but he was too fat to squeeze under. He asked a mouse the way to the gate, but she had a large pea in her mouth and didn't answer. Soon Peter came to a pond where a white cat was staring at some goldfish. He went on without speaking to her, for he had heard about cats from his cousin. Benjamin Bunny was his cousin. See, the cat's looking at the fish. Fish like Nana and Pappy have. Suddenly he heard the scritch-scratch of Mr. Gregor's hoe. Peter hid under a bush, but soon, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed into a wheelbarrow. The first thing he saw was Mr. Gregor hoeing onions, and beyond him was the gate. See, there's the gate way over there. Peter got down very quietly, ran to the gate, and squeezed under. Then he ran as fast as he could. He didn't stop until he was safe at last in the woods. Mr. McGregor hung up Peter's shoes and jacket for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds away. Peter ran until he reached his home in the big fir tree. Then he flopped down on the soft sand and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes, for it was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that he had lost in a week. Peter did not feel well during the evening. His mother put him to bed. She made some chamomile tea and gave a spoonful of it to Peter. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and fresh blackberries for supper. And that is the story of Peter Rabbit. And your Nana and your Pappy love you very much. We hope you enjoyed the story of Peter Rabbit. We hope you sleep very good tonight and go to bed knowing that your Nana and Pappy love you and care about you and can't wait to see you again. Love you. Bye-bye.